Well, the cold is moving in, but the race for the White House is heating up. New Hampshire's first in the nation primary is almost here, just 5 days away now from the big vote.
And a new poll shows former President Donald Trump remains the front runner in the Republican race, but Nikki Haley is gaining ground. The Suffolk University NBC 10 Boston Globe poll shows Trump with 50% support in the state. Haley, though, now has 36%. That's a 2-point increase from the previous poll. Ron DeSantis is a distant third with 6%. As Trump continues to lead in New Hampshire, there's a push to ban him here from the ballot here in Massachusetts. That effort was the focus of a hearing today.
We have team coverage of these new developments. Political commentator Sue O'Connell's here to offer her take. We're going to start with John Maroney and a closer look at what happened at today's hearing. John?
Corey, it has become the warm-up to the big show. Should Donald Trump's name appear on the ballot? That debate has now come to Massachusetts.
Donald J. Trump.
The Secretary of State placed Donald Trump's name on the Massachusetts primary ballot this month. The Ballot Law Commission is now taking up arguments that it should be removed before the election in March.
It's just a continuation of the onslaught of trying to do whatever they can to keep him off the ballot because they're very concerned, obviously, that they aren't going to win.
The commission is currently considering the question of jurisdiction, not the merits of the case. An attorney for the former president argued the 3-member commission doesn't have the authority to get involved right now.
Let the voters decide, and that's what Mr. Trump is looking for. He wants to be on the ballot. He's entitled to be on the ballot. You should not be disenfranchising millions of voters.
We believe that Secretary Galvin was incorrect in placing him on the ballot.
Attorney Shannon Liss Reardon says she's representing 9 voters of various political persuasions who are challenging Trump's eligibility because of January 6th.
He has been found by multiple courts to have engaged in an insurrection that day. Therefore, he is disqualified under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Colorado was the first state to block Trump. Maine was next, but that case is now on hold, with the U.S. Supreme Court set to take up the Colorado challenge next month.
If we left it up to every single state who can be on a ballot, you have the potential where you have 51 different results.
Now, the Ballot Commission did not make a decision today. They have until January 29th. The primary here in Massachusetts is March 5th, Super Tuesday. Well, live in Boston, John Maroney, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, let's stick with this topic and bring in NBC 10 Boston political commentator and my at-issue co-host, Sue O'Connell. Sue, it is written in the actual Constitution that a person who engages in insurrection cannot run for president. But Donald Trump hasn't been convicted of fomenting an insurrection, only accused of it. So are Colorado, Maine, and now Massachusetts putting the cart before the horse?
It's a very complicated issue, Corey, so stay with me for a second. It's why it will end up with the Supreme Court to decide it. So first, look at our founders decided to have a bunch of states, each with our own constitutions and our own election laws, and as long as they don't run counter to our federal constitution, each state can do whatever they want. So these states are deciding that Trump is an insurrectionist and can't be on their ballot. So why are they able to say that? Well, to the point that we just heard, the Colorado State Supreme Court said clearly in their decision that Trump's actions, quote, constituted overt, voluntary, and direct participation in the insurrection, end quote. Now, the clause in the Constitution doesn't say anything about being convicted. So a court said he has done it. We'll have to see how the justices interpret it.
So if only a handful of other states attempt to kick Trump off the ballot, he'll still have to fight each one to get his name back on. He's no stranger to a courtroom these days. He's facing 91 criminal indictments, but how much more of a heavy legal lift is it going to be fighting all these ballot challenges in addition to his other court cases?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot, Corey. And although the Supreme Court's going to ultimately decide, and what they decide will stick with every state, Trump's legal team still has to file appeals in every state where he is barred, and then has to make their case to the Supreme Court as well as the individual state courts. That's really a big deal because not only do they want to win the Supreme Court decision for the sake of, being on the ballot, but it will also set precedent for future challenges. Now, adding to this, as you note, his dance card is already very full with court cases, to say the least.
Well, Sue, a quick Google search will tell you that it's not President Biden or the DNC who are trying to kick Trump off the ballot. Actually, in Colorado, it was his fellow Republicans who filed the lawsuit. We know Biden's going to get blamed either way because that's just politics. But should the president come out and say something about this, or just let Trump and his legal issues figure themselves out and focus on the campaign and beating them at the ballot box?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would advise Biden to just stay out of it and let the courts make the decision whatever way they're going to go. And, you know, one of the things that is being left unsaid here is that there is this feeling of a threat of violence if Trump is found ineligible for the presidency and is not put on the ballot. And this is just one of the many stark choices that the Supreme Court justices have to make in this case. And, of course, there are other issues that were alluded to, like here in Massachusetts, who has standing to bring the case. Can a state tell a non-government organization like the Republican Party who they can or cannot have on the ballot? Is a president an officer of the court? So it goes on and on and on like that. I'm not a legal scholar, but the Supreme Court is. We'll just have to buckle up for another unprecedented, historic decision, Corey.
All right, Sue, thank you very much. Go get some snacks for both of us because we are not done for the day.
Oh, for both of us?
Yeah.
Am I taking orders now? All right,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, you are. NBC 10, of course, has complete coverage of the primary. Tune in tonight and tomorrow night at 7:30 for live editions of At Issue. Sue and I are going to be tracking the latest developments from the Granite State ahead of the big primary vote.